Hi there, everybody. For those of you who are joining, it's great to have you with me. My name is Lizzy Cangro. For those of you who don't know me, I am an expert nutritionist, wellness coach, and author of the award-winning book, Reclaim the Rebel. And I'm really passionate about helping you eat and move in alignment with your incredible female body so that you can reach and sustain your goals without feeling defeated or deprived. Now, today I'm going to be talking to you all about hormone balance and how we can easily achieve hormone balance, even if we're super busy and maybe have been battling with our body and our hormones for a long time. So, sound good? Let's jump in. Now, I would like you to first of all consider two different types of hormones. So I want you to think on the timescale of a day-to-day basis and also a month-to-month basis. So let's deal with day-to-day first. So the two hormones that I want you to think about when we're considering our day-to-day lives is cortisol and melatonin. Now, you have probably heard of both, and you probably already know that cortisol is our stress hormone and melatonin is our sleep hormone. Now, both are super important for our what's called our biorhythms. So our biorhythm is essentially how in sync our bodies are with the natural rhythm of the day. So on waking, we naturally have an increase in cortisol, which gets us more alert, it sets us up for the day, and our cortisol levels peak in the morning with exposure to natural sunlight. And this helps get us through our day and gets, everything kind of like synced with what we need to do on a day-to-day basis. Then we have our hormone melatonin, and this gradually increases at nighttime and gets us ready to go to bed and to rest and regenerate. Now, there are certain things in our daily lives, like exposure to blue light, like caffeine, that can disrupt this balance in cortisol in the morning spiking and melatonin spiking in the evening. And this is what can disrupt our hormone balance on a day-to-day basis and cause problems with, for example, sleep disruption in the short term. And then in the long term, it can cause issues, chronic issues in, for example, not only sleep, but also with our cardiovascular system and our metabolism. It can contribute to type 2 diabetes. So we really want to make sure that we are encouraging that natural rhythm, the biorhythm of cortisol spiking in the morning, slowly reducing throughout the day, and melatonin increasing at night, and then slowly, gradually falling away in the morning as we're waking up. And so let's talk about habits that can allow us to do this. So in the morning, I always encourage people to consider what they can do to easily get themselves energized for the day. And a lot of people associate this with drinking coffee, and this is absolutely fine. I am a coffee drinker. However, if you're a woman, I would especially encourage you to drink your coffee with something. So whether or not it's a splash of milk or you having it with food at breakfast time, this is really important. And that is because when we wake up, our cortisol is spiking, as we mentioned, and caffeine can increase this cortisol spike even further. Now, for a woman, we don't want to spike our cortisol too much because this can disrupt our balance in other hormones, like our reproductive hormones. We don't want to stress our bodies too much. And I'm going to be talking a little bit more about the impact of stress on female reproductive hormones in a second when we talk about the month-to-month cycles in our hormones. So for now, if you are somebody who drinks coffee in the morning, fine. Nothing wrong with that. Just make sure that you're having something with it, whether or not it's milk or you're having a proper breakfast, which I would highly encourage because There is now scientific evidence in the field of bionutrition and biorhythms that eating a large meal at the start of your day is better than having a large meal at the end of your day. And that is because our insulin sensitivity changes over the course of the day. So our ability to metabolize our food, specifically carbohydrates, actually changes. So in the morning, we're more sensitive to insulin, and therefore we're able to metabolize our food more effectively. Whereas in the afternoon and into the evening, that becomes a little bit more difficult. So if you can, front load your day with a good sized breakfast. Now, we talked about being busy, right? Now, I know I don't have the time to cook myself a full English breakfast every single day. And to be honest, I don't want to. So what I do instead is I set myself up to win. I make myself overnight oats at the beginning of the week. I make up a big container, throw some oats in, throw some milk and some nuts and some seeds and some fruit, mix it all together, pop it in the refrigerator, and then leave it. And then every morning when I come downstairs, blurry-eyed, put the kettle on, I grab the bowl from my fridge and I take a portion out, put it in a bowl, and that's my breakfast. Super easy, right? So you can do that too. I love overnight oats for this, but you can do that with other things. So for example, in the summer, you could make like a yogurt parfait. So again, buy a big tub of yogurt, some fruits and some nuts and seeds, and make up several little pots that you can have throughout the week. And that takes what, 10 minutes on a Sunday maybe? So super easy. So those are a couple of nutritional things you can do in your morning to set your cortisol levels up for success. Now, another thing that you can do to ensure a healthy cortisol balance is to go for a morning walk. Expose yourself to natural sunlight in the morning. As I was saying earlier, that natural exposure to sunlight contributes to our cortisol, our body's cortisol response. So if you can, go outside, even if it's the 5 minutes, go for a walk around the block and expose yourself to sunlight. It doesn't matter if it's a cloudy day. I know it's not ideal if it's snowing or raining, but this is another tool that you can use if the weather is conducive to it to help your body with its biorhythm throughout the day. So we've covered the morning. Now let's look in the evening. So as I mentioned before as well, something that really hinders our biorhythms is exposure to blue light. And one of the main sources of blue lights is our technology. So our phones, TVs, computer screens, these are all sources of blue light, artificial blue light, that when it enters our eyes can stimulate an alert response and hinder melatonin, our sleep hormone, from kicking in and therefore helping us sleep at night. So one thing that I'm sure you've probably heard is to reduce exposure to screens at nighttime. And that's great. We can do that through turning our phones off, switching our TVs off like an hour before bed and doing some reading. That is nice, and some people will enjoy that. But again, if you're super busy and all you've done is work during the day, or you've had a busy day, like, you know, maybe you've gone to an event or you've been looking after your kids, or, you know, we're busy, right, during the day. And so sometimes all you want to do at night is to sit down, have dinner and watch some TV. And so not everybody is going to want to turn off the phones or screens an hour before they go to bed. Sometimes it's not possible, sometimes it's not desirable. So know yourself. And there are some certain things that you can do to help reduce your exposure to blue light without having to go completely without screens. Now, the first thing you can do is to buy some blue light filtering glasses. These are super cheap. You can get them on Amazon, and they're glasses that you just put on and they filter out some of the blue light when you're looking at a screen, and these can be really great, especially using them at night to reduce your blue light exposure. Another thing that I personally love to do, because I don't tend to watch TV as much, but I do look at my phone, is in your phone settings, you can go to the settings, the blue light settings, and switch the filter on to filter out blue light between a set time in the day. So mine is between 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. So I just go to my phone settings and say, I want to filter the blue light out from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And that's a really simple 5-minute way of helping your body out with reducing that blue light exposure and increasing the melatonin that your body is going to produce at night so that you can get a good night's sleep. So those are just a couple of tricks that you can use when it comes to filtering out blue light. Another thing you can do that can help you really increase your melatonin and help your body's cortisol response like dampen down and reduce and kind of get you in the mood for a good night's sleep is to take a warm bath or shower about an hour or half an hour before bed, ideally with some Epsom salts. Epsom salts contain a compound that actually relaxes your muscles and again is more conducive to helping you sleep. Now, this warm bath will raise your body temperature, your core temperature. And then when you get out, your core temperature will lower again. And this change in temperature, body temperature, will again signal to your body that you are getting into a state of hibernation and you're going to fall asleep. So that's another really cool way of naturally preparing yourself for a good night's rest. And again, doesn't have to be complicated, doesn't have to take hours. It could just be a simple 5-minute warm shower. So there you have some strategies to help you really sync and balance your daily fluctuations in cortisol and melatonin so that you can sleep better, you have more energy throughout the day, and you just protecting yourself from some of the chronic diseases that I mentioned earlier, like type 2 diabetes, heart disease, etc. So we covered daily fluctuations in hormones. Let's talk about monthly. Now, this one is a biggie for women. So I'm sure many of you know that if you have a natural menstrual cycle, your hormones will ebb and flow throughout the month. Now, we don't get taught much about this in school, so I'm going to very briefly run over what's happening so that if you aren't familiar with what's going on in your body, you have at least a basic idea. And apologies if you already know this, but it's so important to know it, so I'm going to say it anyway. So in the first part of your menstrual cycle, so from day 0, which is the onset of your period, to around about day 14, which is about when you're ovulating. Women vary, what's normal for you will differ, but generally it's around day 14. So from day 0 to day 14, your estrogen levels in your body will be rising gradually, getting you ready to meet a partner, from an evolutionary standpoint, and make a baby. So your estrogen levels will rise gradually. And this will probably be a time when you feel a little bit more energized, a little bit sexy. Estrogen is that type of hormone that kind of like makes you feel kind of good. And so as estrogen rises, your energy levels increase, your body is getting ready to make a baby. Then in the second part of your cycle, from about days 15 to day 28, again, will vary depending on your body. So make sure you get to know your body. I can't stress that enough. Your estrogen levels will start to drop, and your progesterone level will spike. And progesterone is kind of, I heard it referred to as the fat cat hormone. And basically it's kind of like getting you into a state of like rest and regeneration, preparing you for you to release the lining of your womb and have a period. So essentially, first part of your cycle is estrogen dominant, and the second part is progesterone dominant. And this difference between which hormone predominates is going to change how you feel energetically. Again, estrogen, you might feel a little bit more energized and want to do a run, or go for a walk in the park, or say yes to social events. Whereas progesterone, maybe you don't feel so energized and you just want to do some yoga. I don't know. So it's going to affect how much energy you have. It's also going to affect your appetite. So progesterone is naturally going to cause you to have a little bit more of an appetite, and your metabolism increases in the second part of your cycle. So if you feel hungrier, if you have more cravings after ovulation and going into your period, it's for a very good reason. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing, to worry about. You are naturally in the phase where your metabolism is increased. In this phase, you will also have a slightly compromised immune system. So it's really important that you are having enough vitamin C rich foods. So this looks like having an orange with your breakfast or with your lunch. Maybe including a little bit more peppers or leafy greens in your salad that you have at dinner. Really easy things that you can do to increase your vitamin C intake. Doesn't have to be complicated. I hope I sound like a broken record about that. Okay, so as I was saying, there are differences between the two parts of our cycle. So we want to make sure that we're eating and moving in a way that is aligned with our cycle. And again, it's going to look different for different women, but there are some tools that we can use to make sure that we are putting our bodies into a state that is conducive to these hormones functioning properly. Because when they go out of balance, that's when we get things like breakouts, bloating, and PMS symptoms like cramping. So we want to make sure that that natural ebb and flow of estrogen and progesterone is supported. So one of the key things that we can do for this is making sure that our detoxification pathways, so our natural ways that our body detoxifies substances, are optimized. Now, I'm not talking about going on a juice cleanse. Please don't do that. Please, please, please. These are dangerous. They're not nutritionally balanced, and they're actually going to cause your blood sugar to go haywire. So don't do a juice cleanse. Instead, you can do super simple things like make sure that you're drinking enough water every single day. So rough estimate is half your weight in ounces of water per day. Make sure that you are pooping daily by having, again, adequate hydration, but also adequate amounts of fiber in your diet. So plenty of fruit and vegetables, whole grains, all of that good stuff. Another way to make sure that you are detoxifying substances from your body is to sweat a little bit. So whether or not that's going for a 25-minute sauna, if you have the time, or if you do like a quick session of yoga, and just get your heart rate up enough that you sweat a little bit, and that will help your body release some toxins. You can also support this detoxification process by making sure that you're not exposing yourself to toxins in the first place. So, for example, alcohol, nothing wrong with having a glass of alcohol or a glass of wine or a pint of beer every now and again, that's fine. We're all human, but just be mindful of the amount of alcohol that you're putting in your system, because alcohol is a toxin. So one way to support our hormones is to just be mindful of our alcohol intake. Another thing that we can do is reduce toxin exposure via the food that we eat. So if you can, buy organic. If you can't go full organic, head to the Environmental Working Group's website and search for the Dirty Dozen, which is the list of foods that are highest in pesticides and herbicides, and buy organic versions of those foods, because those are going to make the most impact. Another thing that you can do is to reduce the number of household cleaning products that contain something called environmental estrogens, and also say no to things like receipts, which are also covered in environmental estrogen, and that can kind of disrupt our natural estrogen levels in our bodies. So just reducing your exposure to some of the chemicals in household cleaning products and some of our beauty products and perfumes, as well as those receipts, can be really impactful at helping us balance our hormones. So I've spoken a lot, I've given you a ton of tips, and hopefully by now you're beginning to see that it isn't a matter of like complicated routines, things that are expensive or difficult. It's things that you can literally spend 5 minutes doing, small habit tweaks that you can make to make a big impact on your hormones, so that you can improve your skin health, improve your digestion, improve your sleep, and just feel more energized and at peace in your body. Because I think a lot of women are told and sold this idea that we have to have painful periods, that periods are an inconvenience, that we got to be exhausted all the time, and that's just not true. And I really hope that you take from this webinar the fact that it's simple to look after yourself and to feel good. It doesn't have to be a struggle. You don't have to feel exhausted by looking after yourself. So I appreciate you watching this, and if you have any questions, please email me, lizzy@nutritionbylizzy.com. I am here to serve you, to answer your questions. It really is my pleasure and purpose to help women like you. And make sure you go follow me on Instagram at Nutrition by Lizzy, Lizzy spelled with a Y, where I share daily tips and tricks about looking after yourself and your body, so that you can feel good and ditch all of the fad diets and fad programs out there that tell you it needs to be hard. So go follow me on there for all the tips, and I will see you next time. Thank you so much for watching.